Hello students, welcome back to English literature class. I am in the fifth session of the story A Horse and Two Goats. We know that Muni was intrigued by the novelty of the station wagon of the American who had come from Connecticut in New York. Muni and the American go on talking, but they don't seem to understand each other. Muni remembers about his childhood when he had to go out and work in the field morning till night. He belonged to a low caste and was not sent to school. Muni explains the principles of Hinduism to the American and the reincarnation of the Kalki in the statue as a horse. Muni was innocent, but at the same time, he was knowledgeable. He seemed to be a religious person, having the knowledge of religious epics like Ramayana and the Mahabharata. He also seemed to be a superstitious person when he remarked that the priest at the temple could see in the camphor flame the face of the thief. It is so ironical that the foreigner expected Muni to understand English so that they could talk business. This is where I had stopped, children. Now let me continue the story, A Horse and Two Goats. I am on page 63. Yes. The foreigner now understood by the tone of the other that a question was being asked and said, I am not a millionaire, but a modest businessman. My trade is coffee. So before this, there was a question posed by Muni. Muni said, do you know when it is going to happen? He asked. Muni was referring to the world coming to an end. He was talking about that regarding a discourse with which he had heard at the temple. So for that, Muni understood that there was a question posed, and he starts saying that I am not a millionaire, I am not a very rich person, not a very wealthy person, but a modest businessman, and my trade is coffee. So his business is coffee and he is a decent businessman, he says. Continuing, amidst all this wilderness of obscure sound, Muni caught the word coffee and said, if you want to drink kapi, drive further up in the next town. They have Friday market and there they open kapi hotels. So I learn from passers-by. So amidst all the wilderness, in between all this wilderness, that uninhabited place, nobody was there. In that of obscure sound, obscure, very uncertain sounds, Muni could only hear the word coffee. So he could relate only coffee. Otherwise, he didn't understand a bit what the foreigner spoke. So coffee, he knew. He had heard it earlier, isn't it? So he knew he was referring to kapi. Probably the foreigner wants to drink coffee, he thought. And that's why he says, if you want to drink coffee, kapi in his language, kapi means coffee. So if you want to drink coffee, you have to drive to the next town wherein you have coffee hotels. I have heard through the passerbys here that he himself has not visited that place. We all know that he belongs to this small village, and only distance he has walked to is only till this horse statue. So he doesn't know regarding the hotel, but only he has heard through the travelers there. So he says, if at all you want to drink, you can go there. The foreigner said, I repeat, I am not a millionaire. Ours is a modest business. After all, we can't afford to buy more than 60 minutes of TV time in a month, which works out to 2 minutes a day. That's all. Although in the course of time, we will maybe sponsor a 1-hour show regularly if our sales graph continues to go up. Now the foreigner is continuing to talk about himself. He is saying that I am not a rich man, not a very wealthy man. I'm not a millionaire. Ours is a modest business. Mine is a moderate business after all. And he also says that we can't afford to buy more than 60 minutes of TV time in a month. That means, I think all of you know, children, on your TV you would have watched, while watching any show, there will be lot of advertisements, isn't it? This is how through these advertisements the TV channel will earn their revenue. More the number of advertisements, more the flow of money to such channels. Yes, all of you know, advertisements attract the customers to their business and increases their sales. So this is how the foreigner would promote his sales. He says the TV slot time, what he has to display the product is only to display their product, that is to advertise their business, is only 2 minutes per day. That is 60 minutes altogether in a month. So in the course of time, gradually, if his business flourishes, if it is established, or if it is widens or increases, then probably he may be able to sponsor any show for 1 hour. So that tells that he will also be established businessman. Gradually, his sales also will go up. That is what he says. Maybe he will be able to sponsor 1 hour show regularly. Now only for 2 minutes he will be able to display his product for a day per day. That is only 60 minutes. Now later on 1 hour a day. That is what he is very confident of, the foreigner says. Then the visitor, feeling that he had spent too much time already, said, "Tell me, will you accept 100 rupees or not for the horse? I would like to take the whiskered soldier also, but no space for him this year. I'll have to cancel my air ticket and take a boat home, I suppose. Ruth can go by air if she likes, but I will go with the horse and keep him in my cabin all the way if necessary." Now the visitor, the foreigner, thinks that he is spending a lot of time here. So let me settle the issue, he thought. And he asks Muni, "Will you accept 100 rupees for this horse statue? Are you able, will you give me for 100 rupees? And also I like the whiskered soldier also, which is who is next to this horse. But there is no space. I cannot carry him because it will be heavy. I will have to cancel. I can't carry the statue through my plane. I can't carry it in my plane. So I need to cancel my air ticket and I have to take a boat. I have to sail home now along with this statue. I suppose he's just thinking, Ruth, his wife, may go by air. She can travel by air, but I will have to go with the horse, keep this horse safe in my cabin while I travel." And he smiled at the picture of himself voyaging across the seas, hugging this horse. He added, "I will have to pad it with straw so that it doesn't break." He is thinking only regarding the horse and is just picturizing himself how traveling with this horse, how he has to be extra cautious and keep that safe, how careful he can keep this horse. He was thinking only about that. "I have my station wagon, as you see. I can push the seat back and take the horse in if you will just lend me a hand with it." So now he is requesting Muni to offer a helping hand so that he can take the horse statue into his station wagon until he reaches the harbor, probably. "Lend me a hand and I can lift off the horse from its pedestal after picking out the cement at the joints. We can do anything if we have a basis of understanding." So he says, if we can understand each other, I think you can help me to just lift this horse statue so that I place it into my vehicle. At this state, the mutual mystification was complete, and there was no need even to carry on a guessing game at the meaning of words. At this juncture, the mutual mystification, that confusion was complete. Nobody knew what they were conversing. Both doesn't know what they were talking about. And there was no need even to carry on a guessing game at the meaning of words. And they stopped. Till now, they were just talking on the basis of guessing. So they didn't want to carry on this game further. The old man chatted away in a spirit of balancing off the credits and debits of conversational exchanges. So he was just thinking over how to balance the praises and criticizing. He was just thinking over that, how to praise or how to criticize this conversation. And in order to be on the credit side, in order to be praising the other person, he says, "Oh, honorable one, I hope God has blessed you with numerous progeny. I say this because you seem to be a good man, willing to stay beside an old man and talk to him, while all day I have none to talk to except when somebody stops by to ask for a piece of tobacco." Now he says he seems to be very happy that this foreigner is talking to him from such a long time. He has spent hours together with him. So I hope God also has blessed you. Since you are a good person, probably you are blessed with numerous progeny. Means that you are having many children. Looking at your behavior, he says. And nobody comes to talk to me except sometime some people may stop here asking for a tobacco. But I seldom have it. Tobacco is not what it used to be at one time, and I have given up chewing. I cannot afford it nowadays. So he says, but I seldom have it. I rarely have this tobacco, and tobacco is not of that good quality nowadays. How it was earlier, it is not so now. And also the reason is I have given up chewing. Now I have stopped chewing tobacco. And also I cannot afford it nowadays. This shows that once again he is very poor, desperately poor, and he can't buy tobacco. Noting the other's interest in his speech, Muni felt encouraged and asked, "How many children have you?" With appropriate gestures with his hands, he asks, "How many children you have?" Noting the other's interest in his speech. Noting means he's just looking at the other person. He is not interfering in his talk, thinking that, accepting that as he is interested in his talk, he is continuing. "How many children do you have?" Realizing that the question was being asked, the red man replied, "I said 100, which encouraged Muni to go into details. "How many of your children are boys and how many girls? Where are they? Is your daughter married? Is it difficult to find a son-in-law in your country also?" So both are talking on unrelated topics. Here Muni is offered 100 rupees. But Muni is talking about 100 children. He's talking about children. He doesn't even follow what the foreigner said. He's talking about how many children you have, whether they are married, or is it difficult like India. In India, it is very difficult to find a son-in-law. Is it the same in your country too? He's curious to know about this. Now, next para. In answer to these questions, the red man dashed his hand into his pocket and brought forth his wallet in order to take immediate advantage of the bearish trend in the market. He flourished a 100 rupee currency note and said, "Well, this is what I meant." So for all these questions, what the one answer the red man wanted to give us, he just took out a 100 rupee note, taking to take immediate advantage of the bearish trend in the market. The bearish trend means the market is always very active. When there is a bearish trend means the falling share price, children. When it falls, it is not going to be that busy. Similarly, here also for all these questions, he just took forth his wallet and he wanted to answer it one shot. What is that? This is what he just gave a 100 rupee note and said, "This is what 100 rupee means. This is what I meant." The old man now realized that some financial element was entering their talk. So now the old man, Muni, realized, oh, there is something regarding money here. Something has cropped up, he says. He peered, looking at the currency note, the like of which he had never seen in his life. He knew the 5 and 10 by their colors, although always in other people's hands, while his own earning at any time was in coppers and nickels. So he looked at it very closely at this currency note, surprisingly, because he had not seen this note at all in his lifetime. He had seen only 5s and 10 rupees, that too in other people's hand. That once again tells how poor he was. While his own earning at any time was only in coppers and nickels. That means only coins. He would earn money in coins. He had not seen note at all in his lifetime. He had not earned any note. What was this man flourishing the note for? Perhaps asking for change? So Muni himself didn't know for what money was offered. He thought that the red-faced man wants change. Perhaps he wants change, he thought. So he laughed to himself at the notion of anyone coming to him for changing 1,000 or 10,000 rupee note. He just laughed at himself and with the belief that he just thinks, can anyone come to me? Couldn't believe himself, a person asking me 1,000 rupee note. So he said with a grin, he smilingly says, ask a village headman who is also a money lender. He can change even a lakh of rupees in gold sovereigns if you prefer in that way. Now he says, now this rupee note can be exchanged here only with the money lender in our village. He is a rich person, so you can go there. You can ask a headman. He will change this lakh of rupee in gold sovereigns. Even lakh of rupees, he will be able to exchange it with gold sovereigns. If you want, in gold. He thinks nobody knows. He thinks means here the money lender thinks nobody knows. But dig the floor of his puja room and your head will reel at the sight of the hoard. Now, the person thinks that he doesn't know, nobody knows about him. But once if you dig his puja room, you will just reel. That means you will be surprised at the sight of the hoard, at the collection, what he has collected there, which he has kept in the floor. You will just, under the floor, if you see, your head will reel. The man disguises himself in rags just to mislead the public. So he doesn't want to show others that he is rich. So he's always in rags, torn clothes, just to mislead the people. Talk to the headman yourself because he goes mad at the sight of me. Someone took away his pumpkins with the creeper and he, for some reason, thinks it was me and my goats. That's why I never let my goats be seen anywhere near the farms. So he says, anyway, I cannot help you. You have to go and talk to the headman yourself because the headman doesn't like me. He just goes mad if he sees me because he thinks that I am a thief. I have robbed his pumpkins and the creeper, thinking that my goats have eaten those pumpkins and the creeper. That's why I never go near any farms. That's why he comes far away at the outskirts of the village. He comes and grazes his goats. His eyes traveled to the goats, nosing about, attempting to wrest nutrition from minute greenery, peeping out of rock and dry earth. So his eyes means Muni's eyes traveled to his goats. He was showing his eyes. His eyes just was looking at those goats, nosing about. They were looking around, attempting to wrest nutrition. Nutrition, as it is, we had told that earlier, the soil was very, very dry and hardly we could see any green vegetation. So these goats were attempting to wrest nutrition. They were forcefully pulling out this green crops or greenery from the minute greenery peeping out of rock and dry earth. Moving further, the foreigner followed his look and decided that it would be a sound policy to show an interest in the old man's pets. So the foreigner, the tourist, that is the red-faced man, followed his look. His look means Muni's look. Muni was looking at his goats, isn't it, while describing, and decided it would be a sound policy to show an interest in the old man's pets. So he thinks that, oh, I need to go and look at those animals which the old man showed. It is good that I need to go and just look at those goats. He thinks to himself. He went up casually to them and stroked their backs with every show of courteous attention. As though he is very courteous and is also attending those goats, he just goes to that and strokes their backs. Now the truth dawned on the old man. When the foreigner did this, now the truth dawned on the old man. Now Muni realized that, what was his realization? His dream of a lifetime was about to be realized. He understood that the red man was actually making an offer for the goats. Now he came to a conclusion that, oh, till now, which he had not understood till now. He thought that the foreigner had offered him 100 rupees note for these goats. He mistook that. So he thought his dream of a lifetime was about to be realized. So that was his dream of his lifetime. What was that? He had to sell these two goats off. So he understood the red man was actually making an offer for the goats. He had reared them up in a hope of selling them someday, and with the capital opening a small shop on this very spot. So he had reared them. He had brought these goats up in a hope that one day I'm going to sell this, and with the money, with the capital, he wanted to open one shop there, small shop on that very spot. That's the outskirts of the village. He wanted to open a shop. Sitting here, watching towards the hills, he had often dreamt how he would put up a thatched roof here, spread a gunny sack out on the ground, and display on it fried nuts, colored sweets, and green coconut for the thirsty and famished wayfarers on the highway, which was sometimes very busy. So this was Muni's dream. He wanted to open a shop, and these were the items he wanted to sell there. He knew very well that lot of travelers would travel there on the highway, and definitely his business would be flourished, he thought. This is how he wanted to start his shop. The animals were not prized once for a cattle show, but he had spent his occasional savings to provide them some fancy diet now and then, and they did not look too bad. So these, and the animals were not prized once means they were not that fat and not that healthy, but occasionally he had spent some money for them to feed, and that's why they were not that bad also. That's why no wonder this man is offering me 100 rupees, he thought. While he was reflecting, while he was thinking regarding this, thus the red man shook his hand and left on his palm 100 rupees in tens now, suddenly realizing that this was what the old man was asking. It is all for you, and you may share it if you have a partner. So this is what the old man got from the foreigner. 100 rupees note in tens, 100 rupees note he got. The old man pointed at the station wagon and asked, "Are you carrying them off in that?" So Muni was just so innocent as asking, "Are you carrying them off, carrying these goats in that station wagon?" "Yes, of course," said the other, understanding the transportation part of it. So only this, he thought that, oh, he's asking, "Are you going to transport this horse statue in this?" He's asking. Yes, he says yes. The foreigner says yes. The old man said, "This will be their first ride in a motor car. Carry them off after I get out of sight. Otherwise, they will never follow you, but only me, even if I'm traveling on the path to Emaloka." Now the old man Muni says, "Oh, this is their first ride in the motor. The goats will be riding in the motor car for the first time. You can carry them only after I leave, because if I am here around, I'm sure they are going to follow me. Otherwise, they will follow me. They will not leave me even if I travel to the path to Emaloka." Emaloka, I think you know, Yama is the god of death. So the world, even if I go to Yama's world, these goats will try to follow me. So only when I'm out of the sight, you carry them off in your station wagon. He laughed at his own joke, brought his palms together in a salute, turned round and went off, and was soon out of sight beyond a clump of thicket. So he just says namaste and he leaves the place. Now soon he can't be seen because there was a thick vegetation there, clump of thicket there, probably bushes. Moving on, the red man looked at the goats grazing peacefully, perched on the pedestal of the horse, as the westerly sun touched off the ancient faded colors of the statue. With a fresh splendor, he ruminated. "He must be gone to fetch some help, I suppose," and settled down to wait. When a truck came downhill, he stopped it and got the help of a couple of men to detach the horse from its pedestal and place it in a station wagon. He gave them 5 rupees each, and for a further payment, they siphoned off gas from the truck and helped him to start his engine. Now, the red man was waiting there, thinking that Muni would come back. Probably he has gone there to fetch a few people so that they could help me to shift this horse statue into my station wagon. He waited there for a long time. He must have gone, he thought. But since he didn't come later, when a truck came, there was a truck there on the way. He stopped. The foreigner stopped the truck and got the help of the people who were there inside, detached the horse from the pedestal and placed it in his station wagon. And he also gave them 5 rupees each to those persons who helped him. And also, for a further payment, they siphoned off gas. Siphoned off, you can just see there. It is a siphon is a tube, children, for transferring liquid from one container to another using air pressure. So the flow will be maintained because of the air pressure. So this is how he siphoned, that is, he siphoned off the gas from the truck to his station wagon. Now, what happens to Muni? We will see. Muni hurried homeward with the cash securely tucked away at his waist in his dhoti. So he's very, very happy, very triumphant that he has some money with him. Victoriously goes back home. He shut the street door and stole up softly to his wife as she squatted before the lit oven, wondering if by a miracle food would drop from that sky. She was just gazing at the sky, probably. He saw that while he sneaked into the house. Muni displayed his fortune for the day. What is that he displayed? 100 rupee. He was so fortunate, so lucky. He earned 100 rupees. He just shows that to his wife. She snatched the notes from him, counted them by the glow of the fire, and cried, 100 rupees? How did you come by it? Have you been stealing? So she was quite surprised, taken aback as soon as she saw this. So she says, in spite of their poverty, they were so poor, she doesn't want the money. If it is in a crooked, if he has got it in a crooked way, or if he has stolen, he doesn't want that. And this tells that Muni's wife was so honest. She was not delighted on seeing a 100 rupee note, and also accuses Muni for stealing it, isn't it? Now let us see what happens. I have sold our goats to a red-faced man. He was absolutely crazy to have them. Gave me all this money and carried them off in his motor car. He has paid 100 rupees for these 2 goats, he says. Hardly had these words left his lips when they heard bleating outside. She opened the door and saw the 2 goats at her door. Here they are, she said. What's the meaning of all this? So hardly Muni completed that how he got this money, he was just explaining to his wife. So they heard these two goats bleating outside the door. So when she opened, they could see the 2 goats have reached home. He muttered a great curse and seized one of the goats by its ears and shouted, where is that man? Don't you know you are his? Why did you come back? The goat only wriggled in his grip. He asked the same question of the other 2. The goat shook itself off. His wife glared at him and declared, if you have thieved, the police will come tonight and break your bones. Don't involve me. I will go away to my parents. So what happens here? These 2 goats have come back home. So Muni thinks that these goats have followed him, and he also tells, why did you come back? Don't you know that? You are already his. You are his property. Why did you come back? He says, but the wife doesn't believe Muni. So she thinks, if you are caught, I am not going to help you. Don't involve me in your thievery. So I will go back to my parents' house. So she was ready to work as hard as possible to make their both ends meet, but was not ready to use the money presumably secured by unfair means. So this is the end of the story. Hope you have understood the story, children. Now let us move on with the appropriateness of the title. You just go through the text, children, all of you. On page 56 and 57, you have all this. Go through your text. How appropriate the title is. Is it suitable? Is it apt? The horse and two goats. Of course, yes, because the whole story revolves around the statue, horse statue, and also two goats. So I think you can go through. And the characterization, we have the three main characters: Muni, the protagonist, the American, as well as Muni's wife. And the themes, let us touch upon the themes. We have clash of culture, that is East and West, materialism versus spiritualism. Materialism means here he was only into business. The foreigner was is linked with materialism, and Muni with spiritualism. The American is a rich businessman whose only concern is to buy the horse statue as a decorative item for his drawing room. He is not at all concerned with the statue's religious importance. He is ready to replace all the books in his library to make place for it in his drawing room. For him, it is only a souvenir. Now, wealth and property. There is a clear wealth and poverty. So he was wealthy, whereas Muni, he means the American was a wealthy person, whereas Muni was absolutely poor. And knowledge and ignorance. Knowledge and ignorance, we know Muni was not educated. He is an illiterate. He did not have any formal education. But the uneducated Muni tries to tell the foreigner the significance of the horse statue. Okay, and also had a knowledge of the major religious texts, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, which he has learned by acting in plays and by listening to preachers at the temple. And also about the setting, you all know that it is set in and around Crete. And the style of writing is the narration. It is in third person narration, and we also have dialogues in between. There are a lot of dialogues, conversation between Muni and the American. And imagery, you could visualize, picturize this through the words. And also alliteration, where it come across personification. Okay, children, go through your workbook thoroughly and write on all the question answers later. Thank you.